Well, good afternoon, Dr. Sadie John. How are you?
Doing great, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
I'm just wonderful. I'm so glad you're here with me. And to my Audio Steps audience, I want to welcome you. Hopefully this is not your first time with us for our Moving Forward by Faith video series. And this month, the month of July, we've tried to focus on topics that have to do with wellness, self-care, mental health, emotional health, and emotional wellness. Dr. Sadie John has spent a major portion of her life to service to others. Both personally and professionally, Dr. John owned and operated an early learning child care center for 18 years. While an entrepreneur, Dr. John continued her studies, earning a Master's of Arts degree in counseling psychology and her PhD in clinical Christian counseling. Now, for those of us who think that we are too old to reinvent ourselves, Dr. John, would you please tell us what made you decide to seek your doctorate degree when some of us would say was rather late in life, maybe?
Well, for one thing, I don't think there's an age limit if something is birthed in your spirit. If you have a desire in your heart to do something, if you never try to succeed at it, you would never know whether you could or not. And for me, getting a doctorate, first of all, was a personal goal that I had. And second of all, after I had gotten my master's degree, I felt that I could do more helping someone that I counsel using biblical principles in addition to what I had learned in counseling psychology. So therefore, I sought to go back. And like I said before, there's no limit, age limit, when something is birthed in your spirit.
Now, so you'd always wanted to pursue a doctorate. Was this like early on while you were running the child care center that you decided to go for your doctorate, or was that like a lifelong dream?
After I had opened up my daycare center and I was dealing with a lot of issues with the parents, the children, they were coming to me for information, encouragement. It was during that time that I knew that I needed to have more than what I had under my belt. And I knew that the Word of God has specific principles that you can use in for life problems. And so that's what I did. I went back. It wasn't always that way. And I had a chance because I had already retired, you know, and so I had the time and the energy, thank God.
Because everyone, well, I thought I would think of pursuing a doctorate at any age is a rather daunting task. So
it is, but I had the time and the energy.
Excellent, excellent. Now, you were gracious enough to participate in my Declutter Your Mind conference back in 2019. And during that time, your topic was coping with midlife crisis. And at the time, we discussed stress and anxiety, depression, separation. We spent a lot of time talking about identity crisis and so much more. But what's interesting, I believe, is that we've been in this COVID environment now for over a year, and many of those same types of concerns are very pervasive throughout our community, throughout our world. And I was wondering if you could share with us some of the types of conversations that you were are having right now?
Okay, well, what comes to mind right now, I was speaking with one young lady that she dealt with, well, she shared with me that she felt like the walls were closing in on her.
Mm-hmm.
And she now suffers with anxiety attacks,
Mm-hmm.
and she has bouts of depression. And also now she's finding out she has physical issues.
Mm.
That's one. And then there's another one that comes to mind, the isolation, the social isolation that this particular person feels. She said she's just so lonely.
Yeah.
She has no children, and she just feels so alone. That brings on depression.
Definitely.
And so people are really suffering, having so many issues, stress. I shared with you maybe before, I don't know, but I had this young lady to share with me. She has a daughter. She says she knows her daughter needs her,
Mm-hmm.
but because she's with her all day, she doesn't feel like being bothered. Her patience have run short,
Yes,
you
yes.
see? And so it's just so many problems out there that needs to be solved. But you have to take one at a time, deal with whatever issues you have, you know, one after the other. We can't just take them all and, bunch them up together. We gotta know what's very important for us to make it for the next, day.
Absolutely, absolutely. So what would you say would be some of your advice to us that are still dealing with COVID? I mean, COVID really hasn't gone anywhere. And what's interesting right now is society is moving, trying to move people back into the mainstream. Businesses are opening, school is supposed to open in the fall, which brings on a whole nother um
Taking a
bout of
toll.
exactly a bout of issues. And so what would you say, I guess, to those that, like myself? Okay, now I and my family, and I do have family, but my family's grown, so I'm kind of grateful I don't have toddlers in the house, to be honest with you. But we've kind of concluded that we're not comfortable moving forward into um socializing with people in person.
Well, I feel that a person that cannot deal with a crowd or deal with the family all at one time, find a quiet place for yourself. You know what you're dealing with. There's different issues, like I said, loneliness, anxiety, whatever it is. Find yourself a quiet space that you can sort of think
Mhm.
in the present. Get away from the chaos and the chatter. Go for a walk in the park. Focus on the beautiful flowers and the trees. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel you should meditate rather than medicate. You know,
Wow.
it,
Yeah.
it, it helps. But your mind, you have to bring your mind in. You have to train your mind to think on good things, think on pleasant things, think on things that you find you can be grateful for, even in this pandemic.
Mhm.
You see, exercise, get
Mm.
some good reads,
Yeah.
encouraging reads. There's so many, don't get involved in conversations that's causing your emotions to arise.
That's a
Talk
good
with
one.
people that
Hmm.
has encouraging words for you, calming words. I just feel that this is a time that we need to find peace and rest wherever we can, because it's chaos everywhere.
That's so true.
It's, yeah, I mean, all over. And you have to find that place for you
That
that
makes
is
sense.
comfortable for you.
Hmm.
So that's what I suggest.
That's a very interesting point, because even, like I've said, even though we're all adults in my house, there's a room that we can go in. You can go in your room and not be bothered with anybody when you don't want to be bothered. And no one takes it personal. It's just
Mhm.
that you need your quiet time, you need your self time. And what's very kind of alarming right now is that we're so bombarded by negative. I mean, your
Right.
social media, the news. I mean, they don't share anything, you very seldom get any good news. So not only are you stressed with just the daily routines of life, you're being hit with all types of information that, I mean, but you said it, it's like you got to think, you can't allow those things to
The
overtake your
bombard you.
mind. Yeah,
That's it.
yeah.
Right. So that's my suggestion. And I do it for myself. When I hear so much over the TV, I turn it off.
Mhm.
I get my word, or I get some type of good book to read, or I go walking. I
Mhm.
sit in the park, and I do exactly what I'm giving the advice to others to do. And it has a calming effect on you. But you have to, it doesn't happen all at once. You got to sometimes train yourself,
Mhm.
because you're still in, in the environment of a lot of turmoil. So you have to train yourself to, I think one time I said, just be where you are.
Yes,
Be where you are.
exactly.
Don't try to do anything else. Just be. And
That's
I
that.
think sometimes that will bring on a sense of calmness, a sense of peace.
Well, that's. I mean, the one thing that I think sticks out in my mind that you said is that we do have choices. We can, although sometimes it's hard and it may take some getting used to. But it's important that we know that we can choose to turn off the TV. We can choose to get away from social media. We can choose to go out and walk. We don't have to stay in the constant chaos of what this world brings right now. So, that I think that's it's a choice. I mean, it's not always an easy choice, but we still have to want to give our brains a rest, give our minds and bodies a rest, because we need it. I mean, I think I might have mentioned this also before. It's like God didn't put the world on a standstill just because he had nothing better to do. So we want to be very cautious moving back into that rat race that's out there that we left and shouldn't have to go back to for whatever
Right.
reason.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense.
This,
Um,
this this should have been a time to reflect on what your
Absolutely,
life was before. And just what
absolutely.
you're saying, you don't have to go back to that.
That's right.
You can make changes for yourself and for your own life.
Mhm.
And so that's some advice I would give.
I think
Uh,
the other thing that you mentioned with regards to being isolated, um, technology is a double-edged sword. You can either get too much of it. In some cases, some of us don't get enough of technology because we don't want to deal with it. But one thing that this has taught us, that we can interact virtually. There are families that, although they may not be in the same house or even the same state, that now you can actually have family meetings on Zoom and getting the family together, which you couldn't necessarily want to do before, because the option was always there. Um, Even if you don't have a big family, some of your friends that you had, the friends are still there. It made this mean having a virtual, like I call a lunch or a brunch. You get your lunch, they get their lunch, you hook up the Zoom, and you're having the conversation. We have choices. And I think it's key just, having a conversation with you to remind us all that we can let ourselves slide back into that environment of stress and anxiety. Sometimes the environment that we're in just promotes stress and anxiety, but we have ways, writing a letter that we would have never written before. Um, Even picking up the phone. And I think it's very interesting that we've gotten so much away, and even a text. I mean, to be honest with you, text is just as good, whether no matter what age, but it's having that contact, that you can pick up the phone. And I'm sure um there you would really hook up with someone just when they need it the most. The Holy Spirit may drop somebody's name in your spirit. It's like, oh, I haven't talked to that somebody. I haven't talked to her in months. Maybe I should just give her a call. And they're just so overwhelmed by just hearing your voice. You may have gotten them just in that moment when they just needed to hear somebody else's voice, to have a smile. It's just we have a lot of control over how we deal with our
And
present day situation.
knowing how to connect with people. Now, I do know people today that still don't know how to get on the Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
still don't know how to text.
Yeah.
You see, they only know how to make a phone call.
Yeah.
And you'd be surprised. Technology for some is just like turning a hand over.
Yeah.
But for many, it's very difficult. So we that know should reach out to those that we feel maybe need to hear a voice or hear an encouraging word.
Exactly.
They don't expect that person to reach out. You reached out to them.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
So, I'm in agreement with that.
Yeah, I can totally relate, because I went into technology kicking and screaming. Give me a pencil and a paper and I'll be happy. So I had to make the adjustments as well. But I think, again, if we take the initiative, because we know that there are people out there that are technologically challenged, that we can reach out to them. And those that are close by, that we have to walk them through the process, to be patient. I know I call on my children much too much. Can you tell me how to do this? Why isn't this doing thus and so? And sometimes they're patient, sometimes they're not.
That's right. That's right.
But those of us that are teaching others, we also have to be patient and understand that everybody's not receptive to a lot of this, and we have to be patient and understand that this isn't for everybody, and everybody's making adjustments in different ways.
And change is difficult for many people.
Oh my gosh.
Especially change that wasn't planned. It becomes a problem for some people.
Absolutely.
You have to realize that.
Well, I can definitely say the pandemic caught all of us by surprise. You couldn't have never in my wildest imagination thought that we would have been plagued with a disease worldwide like this. And
we're not out of the woods yet.
No, we are not.
Must remember that.
Not even close.
I heard you say that you all are being cautious, your family. Mm-hmm. You're being cautious as to who you're dealing with and getting amongst people, socializing. Mm-hmm. I'm the same way. Yeah. I'm being very careful, because whatever this virus is, it's something we can't see and we can't feel it until it's up on you. That's so right. You must be careful. And if we could just get people to understand, that we want to be back together. We want to socialize.
That's right.
But we must be aware of the time we are living in.
Absolutely.
And if we can do that, we should be able to settle ourselves and say, if we all cooperate, we'll get out of this thing together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And don't be in a hurry. I mean, I know it's hard. Right. But there's no need to rush. There really isn't. I mean, I think businesses have adjusted to this virtual environment. Many of them have. Many of them are making choices on, Okay, we'll do a 3-day work week and we'll rotate so everybody's not in the office. We'll only have a handful of people. That everyone can make the adjustments if they're
That's,
willing.
and
But
it
if
makes sense.
if everybody kind of seems like they want to push, we're gonna make this, people want to be social, people want to interact. Well, it's dangerous, so you have to be aware of that. This new variant of the virus, it has no symptoms. There's no coughing. We always look for, well, if you got a fever, you probably no,
Mhm.
there's nothing to tell you until it's on you.
That's
And
right.
then and I think the other thing before we get to, but this is kind of on the beaten path, because I think people need to be
Mhm.
aware when you're dealing with especially issues like stress and anxiety from being in, you believe the cure-all is to get back out with people. And for right now, it is not the cure-all to get back out with people. It just is not. So one of the other things that I wanted to mention is that the vaccine is wonderful. And there was something that was said, and I may have heard you say it as well. God has provided people for us to create things on this earth that are for us. I mean, he's looking out for our best interests. And sometimes we resist blessings because it doesn't come in the package that we think it should come in. So the vaccine is within the medical community, which, yes, has its opportunities, but God gave somebody the ability and the mind to create a vaccine. And so now we're resistant. I often, the boat analogy. God keeps sending you a boat and you're drowning and you're waiting, well, God's going to come save me. Well, no, he sent you a boat. So this vaccine is come, and I'm an advocate. I wasn't always. I really wasn't. I was, I told the Holy Ghost, you tell me when, you tell me how, you give me information for me to make a decision. But I'm not going to be with the first ones to jump in to the deep water. But now that I know more, it's something that has been provided. Now it comes with the side effects, and I understand all that. And it's not the cure-all. It's not 100%. So we can still contract and pass it on, but our chances of being fatal are considerably less. The severity of the disease is considerably less. But again, it's getting people on board that can make a good decision. I'm not, now don't post it. Well, Kenny told me to no, Kenny did not tell you to take the vaccine. What I'm telling you to do is do your research. Get information to make a good decision. Don't just go by what people are saying or what people are telling you to make these decisions.
And that's what I agree with you, and that's what I did myself. I wasn't always for it, but I said everyone has to follow their own mind.
Absolutely.
Listen to the doctors, listen to the scientists, listen to those that's in the know, and make the decision for yourself. Now, if you're not going to get the shot, be considerate of others.
Oh, wow.
At least wear your mask, social distance, do whatever it takes to make yourself safe and others. Don't be selfish. I think we should be considerate of other people. I didn't tell even my children they ought to take it or follow your mind. I asked God for a peace. If I'm to take it, give me that peace. I got it. I had no side effects with either one.
Wow.
And it was nothing but a blessing because I asked God for that.
Absolutely.
And he will give you the desires of your heart many times if you just seek him first.
Absolutely.
And I am so glad I took it. I'm not fearful. I'm not, I'm still concerned, but I'm not fearful. I'm not afraid to, if I need to be around someone, I
Exactly.
make sure that I'm protected. I'm protecting myself and trying to be considerate of them, whoever it is I'm around. And this is all we can really do.
Absolutely.
We got to let, life take its course, but do what you can do to stay safe.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think, just, when we talked about it and talked through it, some of that would also help people to understand in making those decisions and having peace of mind. If your job is making you go back to work, then still remain safe. I still wear my mask. I'm fully vaccinated.
Right.
I will wear my mask for the duration.
Yes.
And they advise you to do so. It's I'm
so
just
easy, so easy.
It seems that way, but obviously some people are not getting it. But I think as we wrap up our conversation, it's been enlightening as always, extremely informative as always. You're a jewel. I love you desperately.
I love you too.
And I think that just giving people a moment to consider where they are and where they can be if they make certain choices. Now, the one thing that we didn't really hit on, and that is, what if you really feel that you need formal counseling, and sometimes we're resistant to, number one, acknowledging that our concerns are warranted to seek outside help, but then yet making up our mind to actually get, because some of us that we think we can control it, we can't. So what is your thoughts for them?
Now, with a person like that, if you can encourage them to seek help, because there are things that's out there that especially professional, that can meet needs. You know what I mean? Without going through, some people could just look right at you. They may need medication, depending on the problem that you're dealing with. We need the professionals that have studied for years dealing with these problems. We need to seek help. If one thing is not working, seek something else. Don't stay there and die. I think it's a scripture that say, why should we sit here and die? What we should do, get up, find help. If you know of someone that needs help, make that call for them.
That's true.
And say, listen, I know someone that can help you with this problem. Here's the number, check it out. Oh, I believe truly that the Lord has blessed us with so much help if we just seek out to it.
That's true.
Seek it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I think more than most, the fact that Christian counseling is an option. And that does not challenge our faith to seek outside counseling and therapy, because there are Christian counselors that are out there just for that reason. Again, God has invited us with solutions if we would just take advantage of them.
And one of the things with Christian counseling that maybe counseling psychology doesn't give, Christian counseling can deal with your heart. It can change the heart. Many times that's what a person needs, a heart change to change their behavior. Your mind can be changed many times, but it can go back. Usually when your heart is changed, it's permanent. It's more permanent than just, the mind being changed for that time. So that's why I chose also to go back. We have heart issues now. Today, there are a lot of heart issues. God made us. He knows all about us. And he has specific principles in the word that we can go to help us through whatever we're going through.
I was going to ask you for parting words, but that was profound. I mean, seriously. I mean, because I don't think that we actually realize that everything kind of revolves around the heart, your source of life. That's okay.
Issues of life. That's right.
Yes, absolutely. Oh my, I mean, and I've read that so many times, but it's like that's when you sum it up that way, when we think of all the things that we're dealing with and the things that we're trying to change, have we really focused on our heart? And if we haven't really focused on our heart, we really can't address any of the other things because they're only temporary changes. You can, try to change your behavior, but as you said, if you can't be, then you're not in a place where you can be totally whole, totally at peace,
Right.
until you get to the heart of the matter.
But totally restored. You see, you want a total, when you deal with the total man, you have to deal with all of him. I think the secular part deals with the mind and the body, emotions maybe,
yes,
but not with the heart. So that's being left out. And so I just believe that you could be more effective when you're trying to help someone restore themselves and restore life.
Fantastic. Well, I still will ask you, is there anything that we haven't covered in the questions that you would like to leave with my Audio Steps audience?
I think that you have done a fantastic job. Even just the conversation, just talking with you have just encouraged me in so many ways and have enlightened me, whether you know it or not. It has enlightened me in the way that you have come across and encouraging your audience to, stick with the right thing, stick with what's right, and stick with the people that know, instead of going off somewhere else. And this is what people need. We're too much on our own. We need to come back and listen. Come back and listen to people that's in the know. Yeah. And I think we would go further than what, we are where we are. We'd be further on the road to recovery if we would just do that.
Well, again, I thank you so very much, Dr. John, for being with us on today. Again, you're always
pleasure being here.
You're always teach me a lot, and I'm sure my audience can benefit for a lot of what, if not all, of what you shared with us today. And to my Audio Step audience, I hope that you will continue to participate in our Moving Forward by Faith series. I believe there's a message for everyone in the things that we've shared over the past several months. And if it's not for you, then share it with someone else. Everybody has a story. And I believe that what I've been tasked at doing is trying to continue to encourage and inspire women primarily, but people in general, to know that their life is meant to be abundant. And all that we can do to get information, support, help, and encouragement is what we need to do. So again, continue to be an active participant, share, give us your thoughts, your comments, your ideas for maybe future video series. And most of all, continue to move forward by faith.